Chapter 2, Sections 3 and 4, Application and Interpretation of Slope and Y-intercept. This is a lot about story problems, and it's about finding y equals mx plus b, but more importantly, after you find y equals mx plus b, understanding what the slope means and what the y-intercept means. First and foremost, we need to understand what an independent variable is and what a dependent variable is. An independent variable means these values do not depend on any other value. These are your x values, and these are unchanged values. These are values that you cannot change no matter what you try. An example of this would be time. I cannot change years, okay? The next one is a dependent variable. A dependent variable means that all the values change according to when the x values change. In other words, if x changes, y automatically has to change. So this is what we call our y values. An example of this is going to be, let's say, the cost of a vehicle after so many years. Okay? Now, the office manager of a small office ordered 140 packs of printer paper. Based on the average daily use, she knows that the paper will last about 80 days. Find the linear equation in slope-intercept form. So what you have to do first is figure out what are your two subjects, what are you talking about? Well, if you think about it, what we're talking about are packs of paper. Sorry about that. And also days. So my two subjects are going to be days and packs of papers. Now your goal is to figure out which one of these is X and which one of these is Y. Based upon that, you can understand that your days is unchanging, meaning you cannot change how much time is in a day, which means this is going to be your independent variable, which means that's X. Your packs of paper is going to be your dependent variable, and that's going to be Y. So what I have is an ordered pair of days, comma, paper. So if we look at this, we reread the problem based upon what we're talking about. The office manager ordered 140 packs of paper. Based on the average daily use, she knows that the paper will last about 80 days. So tell me, after 80 days, how much paper will she have left? After 80 days, she's going to have 0 paper left. Well, how much did she order? Well, we know that she ordered 140 packs. Well, when did she order that? Did she order that on day 1, day 2, day 3? She ordered that at the very beginning. So day 1 is what you think it would be. However, think about when a baby is born. When that baby is born, it is not a year old. When it's initially born, it's an hour old, a day old, 5 days old, a month old. So when she placed this order and she hit send, the paper did not come yet. It wasn't being used. When it arrived at day 0, it arrived, she had 140 packs of paper. She walked it down to the copy room, and then it was being used. So on day 1, paper was being used. So the two order pairs that we have are 80, 0, and 0, 140. Now, we need to find our equation of our line. So to find the equation of the line, we need to find our slope. So that's 140 minus 0, 0 minus 80. So that gives me 140 over negative 80. The zeros cancel out. This reduces down to what? Negative 7 over 4. That is my slope. So now that I found my slope, I need to find my y-intercept. My y-intercept is the form 0, b. Please look at your ordered pairs. The ordered pairs that we have are going to be 0, 80 and 0, 140. Well, if you look at 0, 140, what this tells you is that this is actually going to be your y-intercept. So since it is the ordered pair 0, 140, I know that this is actually my y-intercept. So I already have my b value. So my equation is y is equal to negative 7 over 4 x plus 140. I apologize. So now that I have this, what I need to do is now interpret the slope. Well, if you were to type that into a calculator, what would you get negative 7 over 4 to be? Negative 7 divided by 4 is going to be 1.75. So slope is negative 7 over 4, which is negative 1.75. Well, what is slope understood to be? That's the change in the y values over the change in the x. Well, y in this case is the change of the paper over the change of the days. And that's going to be negative 7 over 4. Why is it negative? It's negative because the paper is being used. So with that said, how do I interpret the slope? Well, this says, you can do this two different ways. Every 4 days, because that's the change in our days, we use 7 packs of paper. It's negative because we're using it. Another way that you could write that is every day we use 1.75 packs of paper. I would accept either one of those. Now, the next question says to go ahead and interpret your y-intercept. My y-intercept is 0, 140. That means at day 0, what happened? Well, 140 represents my paper, so that means that we ordered 140 packs of paper. So that is the first problem that we talked about. Now, this is actually one off of your homework assignment. And this says Susie was asked to share how many hours she studied for a test and what her score was. On the first test, Susie studied 1 hour and achieved a 75%. On the next test, Susie studied 2.5 hours and achieved a score of 94%. Find the linear equation in slope-intercept form. So if we go ahead and do that, I need to know what are my two topics. Well, if you said studying and score, those would be correct. Now, which one's X and which one's Y? So we have our hours that we studied, which is going to be our X. Why? Because that is what I can control. I either studied 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And then my score is the outcome that is dependent upon how much I studied, which is going to be Y. So I have ordered pairs being hours, comma, score. So my first ordered pair is going to be what? If she studied 1 hour, then she received a 75%. And then what's the second one? 2.5. And then she received a score of 94%. See, studying does make a difference. So with that said, I need to find my slope first. So how do I find my slope? I plug it in using my formula. So my formula is going to be 94 minus 75 all over 2.5 minus 1. And when you put this in the calculator, you're going to get 12.67. This is my slope. Now, how do I find my y-intercept? My y-intercept is going to be y minus, and I'm going to choose 75, is equal to m, which is 12.67, times x minus 1. So this is y is going to be equal to 12.67x minus 12.67 plus 75. So y is going to be equal to 12.67x plus 62.33. This is my equation. Now, from that equation, I need to know two things. First, interpret the slope. So the slope is going to be the change in y over the change in x. So that's the change in the score over the change in the hours. So that was 12.67 over 1. So what does that mean? Every 1 hour spent studying increased her score by 12.67%. Well, that's wonderful. Tell me this. What's her y-intercept? The y-intercept is the point 0, comma what? Well, if you look, 62.33 is the actual y-intercept. So this says what? Remember, this is hours and score. So that means if you do not study, if she did not study, her test score would be 62.33%. FYI, that's an F. So studying does increase your knowledge. That is how you do section 2-34, interpreting the slope and the y-intercept. If you have any questions, please let me know.